And here in the studio, Jeremy Saltan. Jeremy, is it fair to say already candidate for the upcoming elections in September?
Well, I'm sure everyone tuned in to find out the political future of Jeremy Saltan, but you'll have to wait for a future edition of your show.
No, it's important to know whether we're having you here as a commentator or as a candidate for office. It depends it changes how I interview you.
Well, I'll let you decide that for yourself.
Well, I can't decide. Yesterday you had a meeting with Naftali Bennett and Ayelet Shaked. What did they say?
Considering just about everything they said was leaked to the media, I don't feel that it's an issue to go ahead and bring it up. But Ayelet said that she's going to make her decision in a few more days. Naftali, of course, we just played the clip where he said he's going to be running in the next elections.
And that decision of hers, on your understanding, is that a decision between running and not running at all, or running with a new right party, or breaking off and joining someone else?
Well, I think after what Sarah Netanyahu decided, at least in terms of the Likud option, I'm pretty sure...
Sarah Netanyahu vetoing the option of Ayelet Shaked joining the Likud.
So I'm pretty sure the Likud option is off the table. I don't think there really is any other option for her besides either running with Naftali or deciding to go ahead and sit this one out. I don't know which one she's going to do.
When you take a listen to what Naftali Bennett said yesterday, he said this is going to be a very serious party. We're going to learn our lessons, and it's not going to be just about picking fights with the left. That's an admission that that's what the last election campaign was about.
Well, I think that this time around we're going to see a Naftali Bennett who is more of a statesman, sort of like the statement that we saw last night. I think we're going to see a candidate that talks more about an inclusive Judaism, who talks about unity, who really goes ahead and makes sure to paint a different picture of what the Israeli right could look like.
Because indeed the last election, which was mostly about depicting the Supreme Court as being an enemy to the same extent as Hamas, was about trying to, how do we say in the alt-right universe, own the libs in order to get points from the right?
Well, I think, as he said also last night, I think that he's recognized that there were a few mistakes in terms of the previous campaign. I don't expect him to repeat the mistakes of the previous campaign in the next campaign.
Because the campaign last time was a little bit all over the place, jumping between being economically liberal to talking about reducing the powers of the Supreme Court and smashing Hamas. What is the focus of this election going to be?
I think the focus changed, but it's not that the actual positions changed.
No, the focus changed, but they never really seemed to own any particular issue. It was never quite clear what the New Right Party was about.
I think judicial reform ended up being the main issue that we saw in the final week of the election. I think this time we'll see a different issue as the main issue.
Is this an indication that Naftali Bennett has switched essentially to his post-Netanyahu game plan instead of trying to outflank him from the right on those issues, trying to present that more statesman-like picture?
Well, I'm pretty sure Netanyahu is still prime minister, so I don't know if you'd say this is a shift to a post-Netanyahu era. I think, again, a lot of us...
perhaps mortally wounded.
Well, the prime minister definitely is in a very weird situation, right? Because the 21st Knesset was the shortest of all time. And, of course, we're going to find out the results of the state comptroller election, which is going on right now. That'll be a great indication to see how much support Netanyahu has within what is supposed to be his coalition next time around.
Is the New Right Party going to run with other parties to the Knesset?
My understanding is that one of the mistakes of the last election was going alone. And I think that when the minister says, and he's still a minister till tomorrow at 4 p.m., that he's not going to repeat the mistakes of the past, I think what he's saying is that he will go ahead and run on a joint ticket with at least one other party.
Well, who are his options?
I think anybody who is a Zionist party or a Democratic party is one that he would probably consider.
Bezalel Smotrich from the National Union today coming out with remarks saying he wants the Justice Ministry in order to turn Israel into a theocratic state. A legitimate partner for Mr. Bennett?
I think it's unfortunate, the statements that Smotrich made. You know, we're in the time after the 33 days of mourning of Sfirat Homer, the beginning of it, before the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. I would suggest that, again, Smotrich, who wants to be a minister, let alone justice minister,
but is he a legitimate partner? Is he a legitimate partner for Naftali Bennett trying to present a more moderate picture of the right when he says he wants to be justice minister in order to make Israel a theocracy?
My impression is that anyone who is Zionist and Democratic is someone that would be considered...
But is that democratic? Do you consider the National Union Party, which wants to make Israel a theocracy, a democratic party?
I think when you go ahead and look at what Smotrich said there, it's very difficult to connect that with any version of democracy, whether it's a liberal democracy or purely institutional.
So he's not a legitimate partner then, if I connect the dots.
But again, we have to go ahead and look at the entire party there. We have to look at all of the statements, not just at one specific statement.
So it's not a Democratic Party, but you might be willing to overlook it in favor of other statements.
Once again, I'm not speaking in terms of what Smotrich is and what he's not, and whether he would be a partner or would not be a partner. I'm saying that in general.
I understand. Between the lines, you want to leave the door open, even though you have concerns about his non-democratic tendencies.
Well, I said
Mike,
that
let's go to our correspondent in the Knesset, Mike Wagenheim. A lot of reaction today to Bezalel Smotrich from the National Union, saying he wants to take Israel back to the days of the Davidic kingdom. How has the political system been reacting?
Some of the more harsh reactions certainly coming from the left and the left center. We heard the leader of the opposition, Labour member of Parliament, Shelley Yachimovich, saying that the views were dangerous. She likened them to the visions within the popular television show, The Handmaid's Wife, saying Smotrich is leading Israel on a path to a place where gay sex would be banned, where men would only be allowed to own property and not women. Men could divorce their wives based on something simple as immodesty, things of that nature. She said it's a dangerous path. We heard Meretz Party leader Tamar Zandberg say that Smotrich should be disqualified from running for the next parliament because his views are not in line with the regulation that Israel should be a Jewish and democratic state, as you just questioned Jeremy on. Excuse me, Mr. Maklev. We heard also from the right, even though Benjamin Netanyahu would say it's now the left, the head of the Israel Beitenu party, Avigdor Lieberman, saying that Smotrich is a glorified hilltop boy, referring to the so-called hilltop youth, the youth who dominate the hillside in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and populate those illegal outposts out there, the unrecognized settlement outposts, and often contribute to violence and chaos out in the West Bank there. So reaction coming from across the spectrum, little of it good. The little of it that was good was certainly tempered with lower expectations and explanations as to exactly what Smotrich may have meant, other than what he actually said.
And Mike, we have a news from the Israeli, would-be opposition. There's no opposition because there's no government. The Blue and White Party, Benny Gantz, Yair Lapid, insisting that they are sticking with that rotation agreement in which if they win the elections, they'll take turn as prime minister. What else have we heard from them?
Gantz and Lapid trying to throw a 1-2 punch at Benjamin Netanyahu in their relaunch of their campaign today. Lapid reacting to just the scenario in existence right now, that we're going back to elections once again here in Israel. The cost to the state, the fiscal cost to the state specifically, ranging in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's just to run the election. That has nothing to do with the national holiday or any of the peripheral costs that will harm the Israeli economy. He's saying this is all because of one man and one man's personal interest, and that's Benjamin Netanyahu. Meanwhile, Benny Gantz reacting very much in the same mold today, saying Israel, this is basically a fork in the road for Israel. It can either go down the path of Netanyahu and Smotrich, for that matter, toward illiberal democracy, or maybe democracy gone altogether, or it can stay on the path of Netanyahu's forefathers here in Israel, not the Davidic forefathers per se, but the Menachem Begins, the David Ben-Gurions, things of that nature, where Israel was indeed, in Gantz's eyes, a Jewish and democratic
Thank you very much. Jeremy Saltan here from the New Right Party. Still to confirm whether you're on the list, but I'm sure you'll let us give us the scoop long before the lists close. Stay tuned. We're taking a quick break.